Honestly, I think Leaf fans just hate on Nylander because he's good looking and has luscious blonde hair. I really don't think there's another explanation for it. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Anthony Bruno Show. I am Anthony Bruno. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, especially if you're a Toronto sports fan, because in this video, I'm going over the Toronto Sports Yearbook Awards. The players and teams most likely to do and not do certain things. This will mainly be focused on the Raptors, Leafs, and Blue Jays. So let's go. Alright, first up is the player most likely to start a fight with a ref. And this is an absolute slam dunk. If there was a vote, it would be unanimous. It's Kyle Lowry. He is convinced that he's been fouled on every single play. If the ball clearly goes out of bounds off the Raptors, he is 100% convinced it went off the opposing team. If the Raptors lose a game, he will try to convince the refs that the scoreboard is wrong, and if any call goes against him or his team, he loses his shit. We're talking about a guy who once got ejected from an exhibition game during the NBA Canada series when the Raptors travel around Canada to play in front of fans who never get to see them play. But this is what we all love about Kyle Lowry. His passion for the game, his on-court focus and intensity. The dude is a warrior and all he wants to do is win. Next up is the player most likely to not live up to their contract. The good thing about right now is that there aren't really any bad contracts in Toronto sports. But if I had to pick one player who's most likely to not live up to their deal, it's Toronto Maple Leafs captain John Tavares. And before you yell at me, let me explain. In the summer of 2018, Tavares signed a 7-year, $77 million contract, making $11 million a season. He's currently the 6th highest paid player in the league. And when he signed with Toronto as an unrestricted free agent, everyone wanted to have a parade, and full transparency, I was pretty happy about it as well because Tavares is a great player and he's been great so far as a Leaf. 73 goals in his first 145 games in Toronto, but looking at it now, I'm not entirely sure that that was the best allocation of financial resources. The Leafs currently have $40 million in cap space wrapped up in 4 forwards, 3 of whom are 24 and under, the other one's Tavares. And yes, they're one of the best offensive teams in the league, but could they have kept Nazem Kadri and moved into the future with a Matthews-Kadri 1-2 punch at center for half the price and use that $11 million in other areas like the defense core? Those are interesting questions to think about. And when his 7-year deal comes to an end, Tavares is going to be 34 years old, and just based on the way he plays, he's never been known for his speed or skating ability, so I just think that he might decline a little bit faster than we all think. But here's the thing, if the Leafs win a Stanley Cup before Tavares' contract comes to an end, nobody's going to care, it's all going to be worth it. Moving along now, the next Yearbook Award is the Toronto sports team most likely to break our hearts. Now, the easy answer here would be the Leafs because they've been breaking our hearts for more than 50 years. And guess what? They're probably going to continue to do so. We've just become desensitized to the Leafs letting us down at this point. So I am going with the Blue Jays. Hear me out. They're currently in a rebuilding phase right now, so no one's expecting them to be great right away. But the excitement is going to build. You got guys like Vlad Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, Nate Pearson, some absolute studs who look like they are going to be star players. And with that comes expectations. And everyone is going to start talking about them as the best young team in baseball. And guys, baseball is just straight up hard, okay? It's one of the hardest sports in the world, and only 10 teams make the playoffs every year. When the Jays finally made the postseason back in 2015, it was the first time they got back to the playoffs in 22 years. And we all know they have to deal with the Yankees and the Red Sox in their own division every year. So as good as they might be in a few years with all the talent they have and the team they're building, it's going to be very difficult to not only make the playoffs, but win a World Series. These Toronto Sports Yearbook Awards are starting to get a little bit negative, but I promise we will get to some more positive awards, just bear with me. Next up is the star player most likely to leave in free agency, and I'm going with Bo Bichette from the Blue Jays. Not only does he have the talent, he has the hair, the personality, the good looks, the likability. He has every single thing it takes to be one of the faces of baseball. And of course, it's all going to come down to his on-field play at the end of the day. but if he continues to improve after what I saw out of him in 2019, that kid is going to be an absolute star. And listen, I think Vlad Guerrero Jr. is going to be a star as well, but he seems more likely to stay in Toronto than Bichette. He was born in Montreal, he's got his father and the Expos connection, whereas with Bichette, he's a Florida kid and might want to explore a big market in the US. And what happens with stars? They make big time money, something the Toronto Blue Jays have historically hated doing. They don't like giving players big contracts with a lot of term, so when the time comes and they have to pay a Bo Bichette $250 to $300 million when they're already paying Guerrero, are they going to be willing to do that? Or is Bichette going to want to take his talents somewhere else? All right, here comes the positivity now with the Toronto Sports Yearbook Awards. Next up is the player most likely to be loved by fans forever. And winning his second award of the video is Kyle Lowry. This one is a no-brainer in my opinion. Lowry has been the heart and soul of the Raptors for 8 seasons. He grew into the great player he is today as a member of the Raptors, becoming a 6-time All-Star, going through all the ups and downs, losing in the first round, getting dominated by LeBron every year, and eventually helped lead the Raptors to their first NBA championship in franchise history, something Toronto sports fans will never forget. And Lowry embodies everything Toronto sports fans love. He works his ass off, he never takes a night off, and all he cares about is winning. If you want to know exactly what Kyle Lowry is all about, watch the 2020 NBA All-Star Game. The guy was out there taking charges with the game on the line. Who does that in a game that meant nothing? Only Kyle Lowry, and that's why we love him. Moving along now, who is going to be the most accomplished player over the next decade? So earlier I talked about Bo Bichette and everything he has going for him. I also think Vlad Guerrero Jr. is going to be incredible. And I also love Pascal Siakam, but I don't necessarily think he has the ability to win an MVP or be the best player on a championship team. So I'm going with Auston Matthews. And here's why. He's already one of the top 10 players in the league, in my opinion, and has the ability to win major awards. He's one of the best goal scorers in the NHL, so he's always going to be in the mix to win the Rocket Richard. And honestly, he has the talent to be a top 3 player in the world. He can do it all offensively and defensively, and I think at some point he's going to win a Hart Trophy as league MVP. And the Leafs are talented enough and young enough right now to win at least one Stanley Cup over the next decade, so things are set up well for Matthews, and the story is perfect. First overall pick in 2016, comes in as the savior of the franchise, and then actually leads the team to its first championship in over 50 years. It would be pretty cool if he can pull that off. Next up is the most underappreciated player, and I have been beating this drum for a while. It's William Nylander. For whatever reason, he doesn't get as much respect as the other young studs on the Leafs. And I get it. Matthews was a first overall pick, and he's one of the best goal scorers in the league. And Marner's a GTA kid, and he's racked up a ton of points. And Nylander, for whatever reason, is just seen as less of a player than them. But let's not forget how good he is. He won MVP at the World Hockey Championship at the age of 21, had back-to-back 60-point seasons to begin his career, and was having the best season of his career this year. Before the NHL season got suspended, he was on pace to score 36 goals, and for whatever reason, people think he's soft. I mean, if you just watch him play, he scores a lot of goals in tight, and he's very strong along the boards when it comes to protecting the puck. The dude is just not soft. And then everyone went nuts when he signed a 6-year deal for $6.9 million a year. But guess what? He's going to outplay that contract. Honestly, I think Leaf fans just hate on Nylander because he's good looking and has luscious blonde hair. I really don't think there's another explanation for it. I just want Leaf fans to be on the right side of history when it comes to William Nylander. All right, we're now on to our final Toronto Sports Yearbook Award of the video, the team most likely to win a championship next. They haven't won anything in over 50 years since 1967, but I think the Leafs will be the next Toronto sports team to win a championship. When it comes to basketball, it's been proven so many times. It's so difficult to win a championship unless you have a superstar or multiple superstars on your team. And I love Pascal Siakam. I think he's one of the best players in the Eastern Conference, but I don't think the Raptors are going to win another title anytime soon unless they get Siakam another superstar to play with. Giannis in 2021, perhaps? We'll see. And like I mentioned earlier, the Blue Jays are rebuilding right now, so I think it's going to take them at least 3 to 5 more years until they become competitive. And with the Leafs, they're in win now mode right now, and most of their core players are in their early to mid 20s. And on paper, the Leafs have as much talent and depth as any team in the NHL. And I know this season was a roller coaster ride with the Babcock firing and the new head coach and all the injuries, but I'm really excited to see what Sheldon Keefe and this team can do with a fresh start next season. And the NHL is so wide open. We've seen time and time again, if you can just get into the playoffs, you have a chance to win. And the Leafs have also gone through the natural growing pains, losing in the first round 3 years in a row. They're ready to take that next step, and I think they will be the next Toronto sports team to win a championship. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Let me know what you think about my Toronto Sports Yearbook Awards and whether you agree or disagree with any of my selections. And as always, I would really appreciate it if you like the video, share it on social media, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, especially if you're a sports fan and want to see more content like this. It would really help me out. So that does it for this video, and I will see you guys next time.